It's 13 minutes to 7. Here's something I don't think many people don't talk about. Potholes. The torment of road users everywhere. Not just car drivers, cyclists, people who are walking, pedestrians. And if you've noticed more of them recently, it's not surprising. There's been cold weather and rain, and that often causes cracks to the road surface.
Yes, the RAC says more needs to be done to prevent and repair them. John Maguire is in Stoke-on-Trent this morning with some serious machinery. John, tell us more.
Yeah, morning, Charlie. As you quite rightly say, this time of year and with the winter that we've had so far and indeed are continuing to have in certain areas, potholes are an absolute scourge, an inconvenience at best, expensive and maybe even worse at worst. You know, think about hitting one with a motorbike or a push bike or something like that. They can be extremely, extremely serious. So, solutions. Councils right across the UK always looking for solutions. This is the Pothole Pro. We'll give you a good run through later and show you exactly how it works. It's a machine that'll cut out and clean a hole ready for the road crews to fill then and repair the pothole. Not just a temporary repair, but a permanent repair as well. That's important, isn't it? Because although temporary repairs are important, what you don't want is for that pothole to then open up again once it's being hit by heavy amounts of traffic. So a real problem, as I say, this time of year. You're quite right to talk about the conditions. It's that water getting into a pothole, getting into cracks in the road, then freezing. The water obviously expands when it makes ice, and that breaks up the road structure. And roads are quite complicated things. It's not just the tarmac on the top, there are multi-layers as well below. And once it gets further down into the bottom, doesn't matter what you do on the surface, you're going to have that structure, that integrity has been undermined. As I say, a real problem wherever there's been freezing weather this winter. It's been a particularly bad one, as Chrissy Reid can tell us now.
As every motorist knows, potholes are a very big problem, and fixing them is an even bigger headache. Across Kent, there are almost 30 trials being carried out to identify the causes and to find solutions for longer-term repairs.
Well, we're looking at things like trials involving drones, for example, artificial intelligence. We're looking at new materials, new specifications for tarmac, and another one we're doing is looking at a machine-mounted trial which does a circular repair rather than a square repair to see whether that lasts for longer. And most of this stuff is really exciting stuff. It's mainly intended to make the tarmac last for longer so that we don't have to do as many repeated repairs.
One of the trials is using a JCB with a mounted device called Pothole Pro, and it's not simply about speed.
Essentially, it's a vehicle-mounted system that digs the hole mechanically rather than by hand, and then relays the material by machine as well. And so it's all about productivity. It's about whether it lasts for longer, whether it results in a longer-lasting repair, and that's what we're evaluating at the moment.
One of the trials is using a material called G-Pave. It's a space-age material, very strong, very lightweight. They're adding it to the asphalt on the road surface to see whether it can slow down the microscopic cracking. Now, they won't know probably for another year whether it is a solution, but if it does work, it could extend the life of a road 2 or 3 times. Kent has 5,400 miles of road network. Add to that, it's the gateway to Europe, so vast amounts of traffic. And for cash-strapped councils,
ultimately, it's about money.
People are really sick of this. They just want people to get a grip of it and sort it out.
Well, we can understand that. I don't like to see damage to my highway network, and people don't like to see damage to their cars. We only have limited resources because we can't anticipate how bad the winter is going to be.
But motorists are unconvinced.
We know the stretch for money, but this has been going on for years now. It's not like potholes that just suddenly happened.
Yeah, I've ridden off one of my tyres on the pothole recently, and it is no joke.
We won't know for another year if any of these trials are successful, so for drivers it looks like a bumpy road ahead. Chrissy Reid, BBC News.
Here we are back in Stoke-on-Trent. We're on a closed road. We're just going to walk through the Pothole Pro now. Ben Rawding from JCB. Ben, good morning. Hope you're well. I know it's cold. Explain to us how it works.
Yep, so this is the JCB Pothole Pro. It does 3 key processes: cut, crop and clean.
Okay, So what are we seeing here? These are, I think you told me, tungsten teeth. What will they do? They'll clear out the hole, will they?
Yep, so it's 52 tungsten tip teeth. They'll spin very, very quickly and cut out not only the pothole, but all of that damaged surface on cracks and creases within the roadway.
So you attack, and it articulates round, it goes up the edge. It's quite a finessed process.
Exactly that. So you want a consistent finish, and that can do everything from your small little pothole right up to your big patches as well.
Okay. So then you were telling me it's a bit like going to the dentist. They don't just take out the decaying material. They sort of work their way around it to make sure that there's a good structure left with the pothole.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, we're really focused on permanent repairs. So what we've tried to do is, like you say, with a dentist, remove all of that damaged material, creating a solid structure, just like a tooth, ready then for the filling, or in our case, some tarmac.
Okay. So we just saw the pneumatic drill there, so that'll cut a square.
Yep.
Right.
So that takes out all the ramp edges.
Yeah. And then what happens next?
Then it's the cleaning element. So that will take up all of the planed up material, hold it in there, the bucket, and you can then dump it into a support vehicle.
So the brush spins round. You can actually see on the road there just a couple of bits from a previous job. Sweeps it into that bucket, and then and a water tank on the top. What's that for?
That's to stop any dust clouds, so stop any unhappy residents that might have dust that hits their vehicles. So with all that in mind, like I say, it can do 4 times more work and at half the cost of some of these councils.
So it's proving to be popular. I can imagine why. You developed it specially, I know, in conjunction with James, who's on board there, pressing the levers, pressing the buttons, probably instead of levers these days, the digital buttons to make it work. You developed it specially for this job, right?
Exactly that. You know, we've wanted to give councils the tools to be able to fix our roads permanently. We've really taken that on board, you know, as a British manufacturer, as a family business. And James and his team, they've done 7 years worth of work in the 12 months they've had it. So we've given councils the tools now to fix Britain's roads permanently.
And what is it about this that works so well?
Well, we've really distilled the 3 key processes. There's no other machine that can do the 3 elements we've just talked about there. And I think the key thing is doing it permanently. Residents, motorists, we all get frustrated when councils go to visit different potholes and then months later they've then reappeared.
Yeah.
So we've really tried to combat that.
And it works quickly.
Exactly that. So what would take maybe an hour, we can do in less than 8 minutes. And bear in mind, a pothole is fixed every 45 seconds in the UK. That is a staggering amount of potholes we've got to fix.
Yeah, there certainly seem to be a lot of them around on the roads out there. Ben, thank you very much indeed. So there you go, it's a solution, and we heard Chrissy talking about other solutions as well. Such a problem when the winter's as harsh as it has been this year, as you can imagine, very wet as well. I mean, climate change is obviously going to be a factor in all of this. Lots of different ways to tackle the problem, but this quite an impressive piece of kit seems to be one thing that's working. Popular here, bought by quite a few councils in Scotland as well, I think, and obviously the further north we get, the more they know about these type of conditions. We'll have a look again at it later on. We've got a bit more daylight, might be a bit easier to see. Join us later on back here in Stoke.
John, just to check, did I hear then that your man said you could do a pothole in 8 minutes? Do the job in 8 minutes?
Yeah, 8 minutes, Ben, is that right? Yes, 8 minutes. So that's the other thing. It's a more mobile crew. They can get between the potholes more quickly. And if they do it in 8 minutes, of course, that means that throughout a shift, and this thing's pretty much working 24/7 a lot of the time, it really is out and about on the roads. We've just borrowed it for a couple of hours this morning. It means that they can fix more and more potholes. And the key thing, of course, it's a permanent fix too.
All right. Thanks, John. We'll be back with you later on.
Now, potholes, the torment of road users everywhere. And if you've noticed more of them recently, not surprising really, cold weather, rain, ice often causes cracks onto the road surface.
Motoring organisations say more needs to be done to prevent them and repair them, of course. John Maguire is in Stoke-on-Trent. And John, we're all on a bit of a learning curve today about that technology that could help do the whole thing quicker.
Yeah, you're right, Charlie. We know it's a major problem, so we're always looking for solutions, aren't we? And this impressive piece of kit is proving to be very, very useful and a great solution. We'll give you a good look around in a minute, but let's get back to the problem. Tony Rich from the AA. Tony, great to see you again. A bumper year for potholes this year. Just how bad has it been?
Yeah, we've seen a large increase on our breakdowns. About 20% increase, especially when the weather's bad, when the roads have got sort of big puddles. What we're seeing is people can't see the potholes underneath the water, so they're driving through or cycling through, hitting the pothole, and then we've got the subsequential damage. So then they call us.
There's a lot of damage to cars, of course, but it's for motorbikes and cyclists. They're really at danger, aren't they?
Oh, they are a danger, yeah. So the advice that we would give is, if you're driving behind either a motorcycle or a push bike, and they're coming up to a puddle in a road, please give them a little bit of room, sit back, because if that cyclist chooses to go around the puddle, then you need to give them space to do so. If they do end up riding through the puddle and hit a pothole and come off, you don't want to be in a position really where you're right next to them, because obviously you're going to impact with them. So yeah, that's our main point, is keep an eye out. If you're in an area where you know there are potholes, just be mindful of them.
Right, let's take a look then at this complicated bit of kit, very sophisticated bit of kit. Richard's the operator. As you can see, he's got 2 hand controls with lots of buttons underneath and on top of them, a video screen at the back, and he's got his feet going as well. So it is a very sophisticated bit of kit, but it's a one-stop shop. It sort of does everything as it goes along. James Harper.
Hello.
Highways Manager for Stoke City Council. Good to see you this morning. Talk us through how it works.
Yeah, so obviously on the back we've got a 600mm planer that mills the defective surface up, so we can go from 0 to 170mm, and take out defects with breeze, really.
So these are, and it tips to one side.
Yeah, so it can tilt left or right, slide as they go up and down. So there's no real defects we struggle to get to. Right up to curb edges as well. We can, take out them defects as well, really, as well.
So that digs out the hole, kind of cleans the hole, doesn't it, really?
Yep.
So what's the next stage?
So then obviously, we've got, the cropping tool on the back, like the breaker element, so, like your old 2-stroke breakers. That's all done from the luxury of the cabs. So there's no hand-on vibration symptoms. All that is controlled
for the operator.
Yeah,
it
all
doesn't
by,
have to use one of those.
Yeah, especially in harsh conditions. Then we've got the sweeper bucket that'll open up, and obviously there's a collector in there.
Rotates.
And we've got brush with water on, so that'll hold all your planings, aggregate, and then you've got the brush to collect all the debris as well, and leave that clean, crisp finish, obviously on the patch waiting for the tarmac.
So then the next crew can just pour the tarmac in, because the hole's nice and clean, as we were saying, like a tooth when you've been to the dentist. They got rid of all the decayed material.
Yeah, for a good permanent repair, obviously you've got to have clean cut sides, and then obviously a clean base to work from, really.
And just how successful has this been for you? Is it the rate at which you can repair potholes that's made the difference?
Yeah, say we've done this year 4,000 potholes, and we've done 7 years worth of work in just over 12 months. So really we've got
as big a difference as
that.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's all a health and safety impact as well, like say reduction of halves, manual handling, and all that. So no, it's been phenomenal for us.
You're happy with them?
Yeah.
All right, James. Thank you very much
no
indeed.
problem.
We better get you back out on the road.
I know. I'm going to take it straight to site now and do some potholes now.
It's not as if demand has dried up. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, it's that winter, as you talked about in the introduction, Charlie and Naga, those freezing conditions when the water gets in the pothole, freezes, obviously the material expands, and that's what creates these problems. We know that it will continue to be a problem for years to come, of course, with climate change. Something like this is proving to be a very effective solution. I guess all we can really do is look forward to a spring and a summer when they can try to catch up with the number of potholes that need to be repaired. And they're permanent repairs, by the way, as well. Back to you two.